And welcome to this special edition of Hannity, the rise of the radical left in America. Tonight for the hour, we will focus on the single most extreme, intolerant, clueless, growing, and hypocritical group in America. That is the radical left. And coming up, we'll hit the streets of New York City, where our very own Joe Concha, he attended one of the many hate-filled anti-Trump, anti-Elon protests all over the country this weekend. And Stephen Miller, he'll be here with more on a big, big win for the Trump administration against judicial activism and judge shopping. And Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, he will join us after a Turning Point student group was viciously attacked at UC Davis. Also tonight, we'll hear from the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. And last but not least, in other news, Laura Trump will tackle the rise of assassination culture on the left. And we'll bring you a very special moment from fake news, CNN's fake Jake Tapper. But first, we dive right into the depths of what is now the modern, extreme, radical Democratic Party. Remember, in 2024, they ran as the protectors of democracy. But after losing, many on the left, they turned to violence, intimidation. Now we even have outright domestic terrorism, and they remain silent. For weeks, we've watched Tesla owners have been on edge. All across the country, these electric vehicles have been violent targets by people who hate Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Some have been lit on fire, Molotov cocktails, dealerships sprayed with bullets. Countless vehicles have been keyed, slashed, spit on, defiled in the worst ways imaginable. Tesla owners have been assaulted, stalked, threatened, victims of doxing. Tesla dealerships have been firebombed, marked with menacing graffiti, bullets fired into those dealerships, and a former federal bureaucrat was just recently charged for vandalizing Teslas that are new in the Capitol. And Alberta police are investigating after a pregnant woman was seriously injured by a large rock thrown through the windshield of her Tesla. But it's not just attacks on Tesla. The GOP headquarters in New Mexico, that was recently targeted by an arsonist. And over the weekend, a 1,000-person mob of Democratic activists showed up outside border czar Tom Homan's house in a small village in New York. Take a look at your screen. In weekly protests around the country, far-left activists have called for violence against Trump officials, all while dehumanizing Republicans. By the way, where's Liz Cheney and her criticism of insurrection and violence and rioting? Instead of calling for calm, James Carville, he's throwing fuel right on the fire like most Democrats. Take a look.
Do you know what these collaborators with the country is going to feel toward collaborators with this regime? Maybe you need to go in history and see what happened in August of 1944 after Paris was liberated. They didn't take very kindly to the collaborators. No. I'm not saying that these people should be placed in pajamas and have their heads shaved, march down Pennsylvania Avenue, and spit out. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that that did happen. And I'm saying that these people betrayed the French nation in the same way that I think that these law firms and these giant corporate conglomerates are betraying the United States.
Am I hearing this correctly? Collaborators, comparisons to, let's see, World War II, Nazism? Just sounds a little like that. Now, what happened to the party of, all we're saying is give peace a chance, love, tolerance? But after losing an election, these self-proclaimed defenders of democracy, they are now ready to burn the entire system to the ground, just like they were in the summer of 2020, those mostly peaceful riots, all 574 of them, all while engaging in a nationwide campaign now of fear, intimidation against anyone that might support Donald Trump, and outright domestic terrorism against Tesla, and it's getting worse by the day. On Thursday, a conservative student group from Turning Point USA was violently attacked on the campus of UC Davis. Take a look.
Hey! Wow! Hey, get the cops here! Hey. Get the cops!
By the way, where are the cops? Violence, assault, vandalism. We're going to have more Turning Points. Charlie Kirk will explain everything that happened in a moment. The chancellor of UC Davis called this attack disappointing, embarrassing. How about you kick those kids' ass right out of school? Most Democrats don't seem to mind. Now, think about it. In the past few years, Republican congressmen were targeted, shot during a mass assassination attempt at a ball field in Virginia. Another would-be assassin tried to murder Justice Kavanaugh. Remember, Supreme Court justices doxxed. You have the minority leader in the U.S. Senate on the steps of the Supreme Court threatening those very justices. President Trump survived two would-be assassins during the campaign, came within 1 millimeter of losing his life, and yet the far-left hatred, vitriol, it keeps getting worse and worse while elected Democrats, so-called journalists, they continue to dish out hysteria and fear and work everybody up, and none of them will condemn the violence. They'll barely report on it. Over the weekend, Joe Concha, we gave him a tough assignment. He bravely attended the latest anti-Trump protests. They were all around the country this weekend. This one in New York City. Here's a small taste of what he witnessed. Let's take a look.
What is the goal of the protest today?
I'm here to express my concern that we're apparently into a third world war.
So, I kind of hate you.
Okay, hate's a strong word.
And this is do you know the stronger?
You want to obliterate me too?
Wicked hate you.
Oh, wicked hate. Are you from Boston?
Yes.
Okay. Pack the can, have it yet? You just stood in front of a fire truck.
Oh, well, for God's sake. What were they trying to do? Control us? Threaten us? What was that?
Maybe they were trying to get to a fire? All the dog whistles are there. It's very clear for anyone with eyes to see. And you know what they say? History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And I think we're seeing a very, very strong rhyme with Elon Musk and his espousing of fascism. There's some signs here today saying, burn a Tesla, save democracy.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I think, yeah. I don't think there's any reason we should be putting money into the pockets of someone who does not believe in democracy, who has shown no support for democracy, who has done nothing except sit there on his ass and tweet.
So you did that yourself?
I did.
Excellent. How long did it take you?
An hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
I worked that fast.
You're like the Hunter Biden of this protest, you know? Just put that together completely. Well done.
Okay, I'll let you have that.
I'll let you have that. And you're probably from Boston, too. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.